Hey everybody, greetings from sunny Hollywood, California. Hope you're gonna have an amazing weekend. It is time for SMG viewers' comments, so let's get right to it.
What is the meaning of the saying, headphones lie?
Well, this seems to be the current hot topic on this channel, mixing headphones versus mixing on monitors. Turns out a lot of you guys are mixing on headphones, and well, the truth is headphones don't give you the whole story of what's going on. You get a left and a right, but you don't get a center image. And you don't get the reflections of the sound in your room. I understand, volume might be a concern, but in this case, headphones really are working against you. Look, I understand issues are with monitors in terms of cost and volume and placement, and there's a million other factors that go in there, but you're not doing yourself any favors by mixing on headphones. You just don't get the proper left-right cues, and I've yet to come across a really flat set. This is something I am going to research in the future and see what we can come up with and see if there is a viable solution for mixing on headphones. That's going to be my big goal for the next quarter or half a year, and just see what I can come up with. Because I know you guys are definitely not alone, so I'll see what I can do. But if you're mixing on headphones and you go and test your mix on another system like a car stereo or home stereo or something like that, and if you find yourself getting not what you're hearing on the headphones, that's because your headphones have been lying to you.
If basic monitors cost $50 used even, I think more people would have them.
Well, Steven, if more home recording engineers had realistic expectations, we might be making better products. $50 for a set of monitors you can rely on that mixes are going to translate from place to place to place. $50 for the set is just, well, it's complete wishful thinking. It's just not going to happen. You simply can't produce a speaker of that quality for that kind of price. Now, bear in mind, the cost of recording over the last 20 years has plummeted astronomically. That's a 2-inch Atari deck in the back there. That probably would have cost, I don't know, between $50,000 and $100,000 20 years ago. And that's how studios recorded. And then the ADAT came out, and those were priced at about $4,000, maybe a little less here in the States. And that would be considered affordable. An ADAT deck would only get you 8 channels, so a lot of guys bought 2 of them and then had to buy a synchronizer. Let's not forget you had to have a board to mix on. It wasn't until DAWs really became viable at the end of the 90s and then the early 2000s that we really saw this whole home recording revolution, and the cost of so much equipment has just plummeted. Granted, that mixer back there is a 10-channel Neve, and that's still going to be a very pretty penny. Now, you can get great gear for not a whole lot of money, but bear in mind, your monitors are probably going to be one of the most critical pieces in your whole recording studio. So don't cheap out on them. $50 for a set of monitors, even used, is really pushing your luck. Now, I did a demo on some Kali LP6s a while back, and those were $300, and honestly, I think they were probably the best monitors I've ever heard for under $500 US. There's a link in the description below if you want to check them out. And if your budget is $50, I'd say, yeah, it's time to start saving up and invest in yourself.
Hey Glenn, I recently heard about SonarWorks Reference 4, some software that calibrates your monitors according to your room. Did you get to try it, and if not, will you look into it? It looks like a really useful tool, but it's quite pricey. Cheers.
Yes, I did. I'm kind of halfway through my SonarWorks video. I did some stuff with it, but I wound up making a big mistake, and I just need to backtrack and recalibrate a few things and just see how things work out. But yeah, it basically gives you a reference mic and makes noise samples from your room and then gives you a corrected EQ curve. They also have something for headphones, again, the whole mixing on headphones thing, that I'm going to be investigating very, very soon. So stay tuned to the channel. Hopefully I'll have some demos coming up just after NAMM.
Hey Glenn, just wanted to let you know that I bought both your courses, Math and Prog, and your IR pack from Lancaster Audio. The IRs are fantastic. I'm getting ready to start Math Rock, and I notice you use Steven State plugins, which require iLok. I absolutely fucking refuse to use anything related to iLok. In my opinion, iLok took an almost non-existent problem and turned it into the largest pain in the ass known to man. So, what other EQ, compression, limiter, reverb plugins would you recommend since Steven Slate is out? I want to get some or very close to gear that you're using to make the course more effective. Thanks for all you do, and fuck you, Glenn. And just to be sure, I want to emphasize that I hate iLok in case that wasn't clear.
I hated the iLok thing too, but I definitely understand Slate's reason for bringing it in. When they first put out the mastering plugin, the FGX, that just got pirated like crazy, and they didn't really make any money on it. And then they put out, the virtual mix rack, and they put an iLok on that, and then that locked it down, and people had to pay for it. And suddenly, the Slate company's doing a lot better, and they can research new products and put that money into development, all kinds of cool stuff. And they've got employees, so yeah, you know what? I understand the iLok's a pain in the ass, but it really did help out the Slate company because they actually got paid for their work. And hey, people who work for their shit should get paid. It's not that big of a stretch. Now, I've been working with Waves over the last year, and they don't have an iLok. They've got a licensing system where you log in for your particular computer, or you can transfer it over to your very own USB stick and go from computer to computer that way. Cool thing is, if you lose it, you can get them to reauthorize your machine, but they limit that to once a year. The Waves plugins are freaking outstanding. I love the SSL EQs and channels and the API stuff. They're great. And honestly, the CLA, the Crystal Lord Algae 1176, is one of my favorite software 1176s. Another alternative would be to check out Universal Audio, and their stuff's like based on hardware. So you buy like an Apollo or whatnot, and you get all the processing on that. I'm hearing some great things about the Universal Audio stuff, and I really want to check that out sometime this year. Hopefully we're going to get something in here very soon. Now, if you really hate copy protection and you want to get some great plugins that aren't going to break your bank, there's the whole suite from Sonimus. I demoed for them last year. They've got some channel strips, they've got, console emulation, and they've got a very versatile compressor called the Tuco that's really great. Another thing is their SSL channel EQ clone is absolutely fantastic. They've got some very reasonable prices as well, so I'd recommend checking them out too. I'll have some links for everything down in the description below. Good luck, dude. Hope you get what you're looking for. Oh yeah, so a little special thing for this episode this week, we're giving away 100 t-shirts, courtesy the vocalist in Witherfall. Let's go to that clip right now. Hey everybody, how's it going? So for this week, we've got something very special. This is Joseph Michael from the band Witherfall, and also Sanctuary.
Yes.
He just got the gig for that. I was a big Sanctuary fan. I've had Refuge Denied since like '89, so that's pretty cool that you're actually singing for it now.
I was 9 years old.
Wow, that really makes me feel fucking old. Anyway, Joseph's got something really cool for you guys for a big giveaway this week.
Yeah, Witherfall tour shorts for the 2018-2019 tour cycle.
You got like 100 of these, right?
We'll give away 100. And you're gonna raffle them, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have a raffle copter. The link's gonna be in the description below. All you gotta do is sign up. You can sign up for my newsletter, his newsletter. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to them, and that's gonna be each counted as a single entry to win one of 100 T-shirts. You guys are also gonna be giving away.
Yeah, we'll do 10 vinyl.
10 vinyls.
These are double vinyl.
These are pretty badass. I miss vinyl.
180 gram.
Yeah.
This is the translucent blue. And it also has an etching on the fourth side, if you can see that.
But yeah, this is freaking cool. I mean, he was just showing me the whole package. I really miss vinyl. Mm-hmm. I remember the days, you take these home, take the cellophane off, and you get to open a gatefold, and there'd be, it'd tell you all about everything. And it's like, we don't really get that on iTunes anymore, or at least that anybody pays attention to. It's something nice to actually have a physical product in your hand.
Keep all the viruses off of your computer.
There you go. Anyway, so once again, you can follow them on the link in the description below. And you guys are going to be on tour this spring?
Yeah, we're going to be out with Sonata Arctica in Europe. And we're also doing a show on the 21st in LA with Encepharum and Septic Flesh.
All right, fantastic, man. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
And don't forget to sign up to grab yourself a free t-shirt. Good luck.
Hey, Glenn. Had a quick question on setting up monitoring for vocal tracking. Had an issue where the live recording and the playback monitoring will sound balanced in the headphones, but when you play back the recorded vocals, they'll be at a significantly lower volume. How do you set up your monitoring so that the vocalist can project and be captured correctly in the mix?
Well, I'm not sure what interface you're using, and every interface has their own little bit of routing software. And just from your description there, from that vague description I got there, I'm going to take a wild guess that you're sending two signals to the headphones. You might be sending the main mix out, and then you're probably sending a send of just that mic as well. That's what it sounds to me. So when you're playing it back, you're not getting the same volume that you would be in the headphones. You're going, hey, what the fuck? So make sure you're only sending one signal for that. Now, to do that, you have to set up two mixes. You have to set up what you're hearing on your monitors in your control room, and then you have to set up a second headphone mix. Now, I use RME's Total Mix software, and that's just freaking phenomenal for doing all kinds of routing because you can send mics to different outputs and all kinds of stuff. It's got like a loopback feature, which is great for sending outputs back to different inputs and stuff. It's just absolutely magnificent. So without knowing what routing software you're using, I can only be so much help. But like I said, make sure you're not sending the mix to your vocalist twice. Don't worry, that's an easy beginner mistake. I think I've made that one about 1 billion times over my career. It's something that's easy to overlook. Good luck, dude.
Hey Glenn, so my drummer decided to buy a decent drum kit, then he decided to spend about $1,000. Now the drum is cool but it has no hole for the mic. When the producer asked if he wanted to put a head that has a mic hole in it, he said no, it's perfect like this. Can you please explain to him the importance of a mic hole?
Oh, drummer doesn't want a hole in his front kick drum, apparently has a hole in his head. Seriously, yeah, drummers really get jammed up about this sort of thing. And it really depends on what they want. I mean, like, I used to be in a band with a drummer who was bitching about a sound guy who made him cut a hole in it. It's like, dude, you want the click kick sound. You want the kick drum with a massive attack on it. You need to do that. When I was first starting out, I used to take the front head off altogether and just use the one head. And then, James Murphy, a good friend of mine from Obituary, Testament, and Death, he's like, dude, put on a second head and, cut a hole and put the mic in like that, because you get what's called natural compression. You get that sound bouncing back and forth. You put a pillow in there, it's nice and tight and gives you that super snappy kick sound that you're looking for. Now, if your drummer wants more of a Bonham-esque type kick drum, yeah, you want to put a big, large diaphragm condenser just outside of it, and that should do the trick. But if he's looking for that modern, speed metal kick sound with lots of attack, yeah, he needs to put a hole in it. There's numerous companies that make rings that you can use as templates to do the cutout with. All you need is an X-Acto knife and about 5 minutes and a little bit of patience. Now, if you're gonna get your drummer to watch this, just pass this along. Dude, please unstick your head from your ass. You are working against your own goals. The engineer is there to help you get the sound you're after. Don't fight him on everything.
I once saw a drummer whose kick pedal had a loud squeak that could be heard over the full band. He refused to lubricate it because he insisted it would ruin the feel and fuck up his timing.
Well, that would be the first thing I'd do is, the minute he wasn't looking, I'd go oil the damn thing. But, the flip side of that is if you fix it, then he's going to blame every mistake he makes on his pedals not being, jammed up and squeaky, that they're working properly. Reasoning with a drummer can be a very difficult task, but you could try saying something along the lines of, oh, come on, man, I thought you were good. We need to get this squeak out so we can record the drums and have them sound good. I mean, like, come on, man, I thought you were a professional.
Hey, Mr. Fricker, I agree with you that real drums are always better, but I also appreciate your understanding of how some people don't have the option of recording real drums. And I think your point about having that human element is very important. So what are your thoughts about using an electric drum kit to trigger a decent VST drum plugin? That way you get a little bit more of that human element. Cheers from Norway, and fuck you.
Hey, Siggy, I think that's a fantastic and totally reasonable question. Now, when I first started with my studio back in like 98, I was actually using a set of I was using a set of Tama Techstars with real cymbals. And, we got some pretty good results with that. And then I upgraded to some V drums and got some pretty good results with that. And then when all electric cymbals and the drummers hated those things, and wound up, just bringing the acoustic elements back in until I was finally recording full acoustic kits. It took a while. It was a very long learning process, but we did get some interesting results. I'll say that. The trick you got to remember when you're going to trigger VSTs is don't time align the living shit out of them. If you want that human element, that's great. The trick is you got to remember to leave it in. The easiest thing in the world these days is to just, quantize and grid align a drum to this completely perfect robotic bullshit that we're hearing on so many records these days. And, it's fucking boring. I mean, like, it's really boring. Band puts out generic, perfect fucking performance, and it's just like, do we really need more of that? Fuck no! So if you really want that human element, by all means, have a drummer play on an electronic kit. Try it with real cymbals, though. You might get some great results. And remember, don't fuck with it after it's recorded. It's fine the way it is!
Why is it that most pre-2000s albums have such a raw sound, and most modern records sound so crisp or cleaned up? For example, all of Morbid Angel's albums sound old school, and their latest record sounds so cleaned up. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but would it be possible to get that old school sound with newer recording technology? Also, I love the long episodes. Keep them coming, please.
Yeah, I did a poll there last week about longer episodes, and you guys definitely like the longer ones. So yeah, I'm going to try and keep these over 20 minutes at least and see how it goes. Like I said, so far the response has been phenomenal. There's been a lot of new subscribers coming in, and I really appreciate hearing from all you guys, so please keep those comments and questions coming. But I totally agree with you about the Morbid Angel thing. The thing is, yes, it's possible to make a raw sounding record with modern technology. The trick is, you gotta just not fuck with it. Like I was saying in the earlier statement, it's the easiest thing in the world to clean this up. The question is, can you leave it alone? Is it possible to not fuck with the music and just hear the musicians? If you want a raw or less cleaned up sound, record the band and leave it. Sure, clean up a few bits here and there, but don't fucking time-align every beat, and don't quantize your guitars. That's the worst thing you could do. I mean, once you got the drums laid down, just lay in the guitars and leave them as they are. You know, I did that thing with Twisting Life there a couple months back where we covered Rock Me Amadeus. And that did pretty well. One of the comments was, well, it sounds like everybody's slightly out of time with each other. I'm like, yes, that's called making music. You should try it sometime. I always found the more inspired performances and the more inspired music came from when musicians played off each other and weren't slave to the grid. We have some amazing technology at our disposal when it comes to making records for not a lot of money. We can do a lot these days. The trick is to recognize the technology for what it is and don't abuse it for the sake of making it perfect, because the art suffers.
Question for you, Glenn. How do you feel about bands sharing gear during gigs, specifically drums? I know it's one thing if you know the other members of bands and it saves time between sets, but if you don't know the band, how can you trust that they'll treat your gear with the same care you do?
Yeah, that's the age-old dilemma, isn't it? Now, I've covered this subject a little bit before, and I told the story about how a very good friend of mine lent his Marshall to the guitar player from the Dayglow Abortions, and he cranked his amp up, blew it out, and then at the end of the gig, you know, they just got in their van and left, and he never heard from him again, and my buddy got stuck with a repair bill. I actually did get a phone call from that guy a couple of years back apologizing for that. He definitely remembered that, and he's like, yeah, I feel like a total dick. Well, dude, you were a total dick. At least you called up and owned up to it. I do got to get you my buddy's number. You can call him personally and send him a check, you fuck. Anyway, so proceed with caution. Generally, when I would gig, it would be, you know, bring your guitar, bring your amp, maybe bring a cab, and the bands would generally share a drum set, you know, but we would swap out breakables, meaning the drummer would bring their snares, cymbals, sticks, pedals, that kind of stuff, and then just play on the shells. You know, replacing a drum head isn't that expensive, so if something gets broken, it's not too bad. Chances are the other bands you're gonna be playing with didn't spend too much on their drum kits anyway. So, I mean, like if somebody walks in with like a, you know, $4,000 set of DWs and says, I don't want other bands playing on my kit. Okay, that's understandable. You know, that's a significant investment. But if he's playing like on a $500-600 set of Pearl Exports or something like that, you know, no big deal. And it all comes down to how much do you value your gear? Try and talk to the other bands ahead of time and establish ground rules, who's responsible for what. And I always say this to every band out there who's playing a gig is don't borrow gear if you can't afford to repair it.
Hey Glenn, I've asked this before, but I know you have way too many comments to read through already, so I get it. Anyways, I'm in a situation where I can't find any members reliable enough to learn any songs or show up to practice. My question is, would you recommend waiting around for other people to get their shit together to actually perform my music, or should I just say fuck it and play to backing tracks? Would people look down on someone who does this and calls themselves a band? I feel like it would be fucking lame to do that, but I'm getting desperate to perform my own material. I am not currently in a situation where moving somewhere is doable, and I've done the playing in other bands thing for years. Thanks, Glenn.
Hey Shane, you know what I say? I say fucking go for it. Don't hold yourself back waiting for other people. Just put your music out there, get up on stage and do your thing. Bill yourself as a solo act if you have to. You know, I can think of numerous bands who've used, you know, machines instead of players because they couldn't get the right people. There's a Toronto rap metal group called Gutshot. It's a couple guitar players and a vocalist, and they went up on stage with no drummer. And you know what? The drummer counted to 4 really well. You know, my buddy Faderhead, he's EDM, obviously he's not rock, but I mean, like, it's just him and a mic. And he's got a DJ playing music in the background. And you know what? He does really fucking well with that. So don't hold yourself back on preconceptions and fuck the haters, man. Just make music any way you can.
Hey Glenn, I'm a bass player that has been playing for 7 years, but due to my status as a college student, it's hard to reliably work with a band. I've learned a lot of covers and hit sort of a wall with my enjoyment and really want to write my own music, but I suck at it. My writing skills are horrible, and it's no help that I don't have a band to work with to create new music. Have you ever had bands come in with crappy music, and what resources or suggest for writing better material?
Wow, that's kind of a can of worms there. Here's the first thing I can say is, well, if you suck at writing music, write more of it. Eventually, you'll get better. I mean, like, that's the whole point, man. I started out recording bands with zero fucking talent. And, you know, I think it was a good 2 years before I even brought a band into my studio where I was comfortable enough in the process where I think I could charge money for what I was doing. And it still took me 20 years to get it right after that. So it's just a process of refinement, man. It's like, if you suck at it now, keep doing it. Eventually, you're going to get it. That being said, you know, I have had bands come in with, you know, some finished songs and whatnot, and then we'll have the vocalist get up, and the vocal melodies he's chosen are quite questionable. So I've definitely had a number of situations where I've worked with vocalists, you know, with acoustic guitar in hand and just work out melodies and harmonies and that kind of thing, and help them kind of craft their songs into something better. I've definitely had more than enough situations where bands have had incomplete ideas, and it's been my job as the recording engineer to put on the producer hat and help them flesh out their songs and turn it into something that's gonna rock.
Hey Glenn, I'm a drummer and guitar player and want to start recording myself. I don't want to go cheap mic kit that has to be replaced at one point. I want to go with 3 mics that are not highly expensive but workhorse about forever. Your opinion and suggestions would be great if you have the time. By the way, you're awesome. Fuck you, Glenn.
Okay, that's cool. I'd say you want to get 4 mics, actually. You want to get yourself an SM57 for your snare drum. You want to get an Audix D6 or a Lewitt Rex for your kick mic. And for your overheads, you want to get a pair of Roswell Mini K47s. All are reasonably priced. They're not super expensive, but they're not super cheap either, and all are fucking quality and will last you. The Audix D6 is maybe $200. The Lewitt Rex is a little bit more, but it's a dual element mic. It's got a dynamic and a condenser. It's fucking great. You just pull up the faders and blend your tone. You're good to go. 57 will work on guitars, snare, and numerous other instruments. And the Roswell Mini K47s are the absolute hidden gem of the medium diaphragm condenser microphone. They're about $700 a pair. Not the cheapest option, but holy crap, are they ever fucking great on drum overheads and guitar amps as well. We did a piece there with Jackson Ward a while back where we just brought up the Roswells as overheads, and we just had a kick mic, and that was enough because they sound fucking great.
Just curious, Glenn, who are your favorite bass players?
Oh man, there's so many great bass players out there. It's really hard to choose. I can name off a few though. Cliff Burton, Steve Harris, Billy Gould from Faith No More, Joey Vera from Armored Saint. Holy shit, that guy's incredible. You know, go put on the song Tainted Past. The fretless bass intro is just magnificent. The guy from the Canadian band Weirdstone that nobody ever heard of, I was a huge fan of his whole style. He definitely had his own thing going on. Geezer Butler, John Entwistle. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Geddy Lee. I mean, yeah, you can't have that list without Geddy Lee. Simply phenomenal bass players out there. There's so much talent to learn from. There's so many amazing bass players. You can watch and emulate their styles and come up with your own thing. I just wish more guys who pick up the bass would take the instrument more seriously, because the world is in desperate need of great bass players.
Hey Glenn, 2 questions. 1, what record has your favorite metal bass tone? 2, are there any bass cabs in the Lancaster library of IRs? Or do the guitar tones work with bass too? Or which one do you think might work best with bass?
To your first question, let me see here. One of the ones I left off, my favorite bass players was, there was Anthrax, Persistence of Time, that bass solo and Got the Time by their bass player. That was fucking phenomenal. Love the tone on that. You put on King's X, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. The bass tone on that record is just ripping amazing. Yeah, go put on Over My Head. Killer stuff. Anyway, as to your second question, yes, I believe we've got Bob Marlette's bass cab. we've got an IR of that. So if you buy the Bob Marlette pack, it is based into that. And Bob Marlette's done, Blackstone Cherry, Saliva, a bit of Black Sabbath. He did the 2 record with Rob Halford, and he does a lot of work with John 5. So if you like the sound of those records, go check out the Bob Marlette IR pack, and it's got some bass stuff in there. That being said, I think for my second IR pack, we are going to put the Dark Glass Cab in there. That's going to happen a little bit later on this year. Keep your eyes peeled for that.
I like 2 and 5 without headphones on my iPhone. I'm not a fan of YouTube sound tests.
Of course, he's referencing the 4 different amp sims and the 1 real amp shootout I did last Sunday. Okay, dude, I'm just going to point something out here, is that these are wonderful tools, but these are not the right tool to evaluate sounds on. The speakers are tiny, they're incapable of producing low frequencies, anything below probably 200 hertz, so don't fucking bother. Yes, a set of headphones might help, but here's the thing, if you got yourself a set of monitors, like say the ones from Cali, you might be a little more fond of YouTube sound tests.
Since the guitar player is a human, I think the difference between sample and amps is very small compared to the difference between drum samples and a real drummer. I think you could put all 5 on a record without the listener noticing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think an amp and amp sims are just editing the guitar signal, so you've still got the original guitar signal, where the drum samples are just generated signals that will never match the real signal.
I think that's a very interesting insight you have, and I think there's some truth there. I've always looked at it like this. When you do an amp sim with a cabinet sim and whatnot, you're still got the real player. But when you use drum samples, you're basically replacing the drummer with something he didn't play. That's a big difference. It's like the difference between, say, frets on a guitar versus a violin, as opposed to going to the Louvre and checking stuff out and then doing the Mona Lisa and paint by numbers. Everything's kind of mapped out already. You're kind of on rails and you're kind of stuck with what the samples can do. You can do blends, there is that, and it's like, I'd just like to hear the drummer for a change, and we're not hearing that on metal records anymore. We're hearing the drummer plus something he didn't play. Usually a lot of blends, but it's still taking away from the drummer. Whereas, if you use an amp sim, you're still getting what the guitar player played.
Hey Glenn, I was wondering, how do I go about forming a band at a younger age, 15 to 16? Cheers from Idaho, and fuck you.
Oh, that was tough for me. I had a band in high school, but we never ever did get a bass player. We had about 3 different guitar players and a couple of singers and a couple different drummers, but nobody ever played bass. Bass players were super fucking rare when I was young. I don't know, Facebook forums, put flyers up in your local music stores, go to places where kids take music lessons and just put a flyer up there and say, I'm looking for players, I want to form a band. I mean, when I was 16, that was the one thing I wanted to do more than anything else in the world, was get into a band and just rock the fuck out with other people who were into the same shit I was into. Being in a band could be great, but yeah, struggling to find people to play with can be a real pain in the ass. The other thing would be, if you've got a local community center that has bands playing, go to those gigs and just try helping out or volunteering, because chances are you're going to meet people and find other people with similar likes who are looking for bands. Or just try and find where local shows are going on with all ages crowds and go to those and ask around. Even if you don't know anybody, go talk to the sound guy, go talk to the other band, say, hey, I'm a player, maybe I can help you guys haul some gear, and maybe you can introduce me to some other people you might know who are playing as well, because I'm looking to form my own band. Be surprised how much offering to help out at local gigs can help you out in the long run. Bands generally appreciate it when you help them move shit. So try that. Best of luck to you. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing questions. Please keep them coming. I'll put them on the show. Anyway, looking very much forward to NAMM next week, so I hope to see you guys there. If you see me on the show floor, come over, say hi, shake hands, take a picture, whatever. Yeah, I've got time for that. Love meeting all you guys. Anyway, hope to see you there. Have an amazing weekend. Take it easy. Hey guys, if you liked the video, be sure to subscribe, as I post every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. If you want to learn more about recording, check out one of my tutorials or one of my gear reviews if you want the actual honest truth about a piece of equipment. Till next time, stay metal, my friends.